We were talking about, I mean, Lance brought up the point that is there something, because last week, there was that potential, that rumor of the flu going around, and we may have said Kelce didn't look right. And then Lance kind of made the point, he still doesn't look right. And I was saying to me, and he was saying that maybe as Kelce gets older, maybe when we start to see him on a pitch count, on a little snap count. And to me, the last few weeks, it seems like we already have begun that process. He's always he's asking to come out more than I've ever seen him asking to come out of a game. In the red zone, I've seen last week and this week, I'm seeing Noah Gray in there more so than him. And I'll say this too. I'm also seeing a reduction of Jody Fortson's play in the red zone. I don't even see Jody Fortson anymore. I see him on punt team and special teams. I don't even see him out there on offense anymore, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, we were talking about if we should probably start to roll him on a snap count as we get closer to the playoffs, so we have him healthy and a full 100% Kelce as we approach the playoffs. Do you think that he's currently on a pitch count right now? And do you think something's wrong with Travis right now, like injury wise or health wise?
No, I mean, if he had the flu, the flu is going to take you a while to get back for one. But I think you should. I think it's just the right thing to do to have someone on a pitch count when you don't necessarily need him in certain plays. You don't need to put him in there, and so it just makes sense because he's getting older, and a guy like that you want to protect. I mean, that's your golden guy. So you don't want him getting hurt over something silly or somebody else like Noah Gray could come in or Jody Fortson could necessarily come in and do. So we got two capable tight ends that can fill that hole for Travis if he need to. And so the other thing though too is because of our offense has predicated kind of on Travis. Noah does a good job of getting open. We know Jody's a effective receiver, and then we got all the other people around him. Sky Moore, MVS finally caught a ball toward the end of the game. I forgot he was playing. I was like, well, sure, I forgot MVS was playing. Yeah. I hadn't heard his name all game. And so and we're going to be getting some more weapons back. So we got weapons. That's the thing about it. We got weapons. And I think just because how we run the offense is just finding holes, finding windows, you can afford to sit Travis down if you need to. And they'll trust Travis. He'll let them know how his body feels. They'll watch him. That's one thing that they're not going to do. They're not going to overplay him when you don't need to. I mean, that'd just be silly, stupid. So,
what do you think it is? Because I thought Fortson was going to be more step up a lot when we had all these injuries offensively. Because obviously Tony's out, Harmon's out, and obviously not the same kind of guy, right? Different types of guys who fill that role. But I thought Fortson was going to get a little more snaps, maybe out wide, just a little more involved in the offense with those guys being out. And it seems like it's been the opposite. Those guys have been out, and he's just kind of taking a reduced role offensively. What do you make of Fortson's reduced role?
I don't know. To be honest with you, it's kind of I'm perplexed by that too. Because I thought the same thing. I'm like, you got a guy that's capable, who's got a big body, could body up, who could run by corners and safeties, and no doubt about it, in the linebackers. So he's still a matchup nightmare. Just maybe how they wanted to just run plays, some of the packaging. What you have, maybe what they want to do might be part of the problem. Because sometimes what ends up happening, once you get into the tempo of things, you like, as a coordinator, you're like, oh man, like, dang God, I can get to run him in. And sometimes the coaches start talking about it, man, we wanted to play Jody a little bit more than what we did. And they'll talk about it. And so that's part of the problem when they don't quite see it, where they thought he might have been in somewhat of the game plan. And then all of a sudden you realize that you never called any of those plays. But sometimes in the situation, if the situation is not ideal for him to be in, then he just won't be in. But I think especially when we having a problem, and I think it's what you were kind of asking, down in the red zone, he needs to be in the game. I mean, because not only is there effective blocking, but he's a great, pass catcher. He can play basketball down there. So it would be absolutely normal for me to say, look, Jody Fortson needs to be down here within the 20 on. He needs to be in some of these packages. Probably, like you said, 50% to 75%, he needs to be in here. Heck, we run a 31, we're running the fullback blast with Burton. Should go on and do something with Jody running down the sideline. Why not put him out in the flat? I just, so I think we kind of exhausted that play. I think I tweeted that to the nauseum for real. I mean, teams is just like, okay, here's Burton. We're going to go for the little dive, little blast here. Let's play that first. So I think, we just had to get somebody like that involved. And Watson, too, he's big body. We got big body guys. We got big body guys, man. We do. And so you just hope you see more of that. And like I said, I hope we see more of just running the football. And so we just kind of get back into, what we do, what has been working for us.
If I told you guys there was a guy on a random team, doesn't matter what NFL team it was, but he's 6'6", 250 pounds, and over 70% of his career completions, or receptions rather, were touchdowns, wouldn't that sound like a guy that you want to throw the ball to in the red zone? Because that's Jody Fortson. Yeah. And you know what? I saw Jody Fortson really frustrated tonight towards the end of the game, and I don't blame him. I don't know what the purpose was. Maybe it had nothing to do with him not being used. But I saw Patrick talking to him a little bit as the game was dwindling down. But if I'm Jody, I'm frustrated too, because I think that guy, as much as he's worked his body back into shape, tearing his Achilles like he did last year, getting back into the graces of this coaching staff, getting back on this roster, it's not easy making this type of roster, a Super Bowl winning roster, a team that can win a Super Bowl. That's not easy to do, let alone an NFL roster at all. So I would be frustrated too. And JD, you and I have talked about this for over a year now, about the 50-50 balls, man. Like, I don't know why the Chiefs are fixated on not throwing the ball into the end zone when they're in the red zone. I don't understand why that is. In 2018, if you go watch the highlight tapes of Patrick Mahomes' 50 touchdown passes, I mean, at least 12 of them are throws into the end zone. I mean, the play that everybody always goes back to about when did we know Mahomes was the throw against the 49ers at home in week 3. What did he do? Oh, yeah, he threw it in the back of the end zone to a guy named Chris Conley, who can't even make a roster consistently in the NFL. So that should tell you what should be happening right now, is the Chiefs need to be throwing to their big dudes out there in the corners of the end zone, giving these guys opportunities to get these scoring plays down. Because, yes, I understand you're a finesse offense. Yes, I understand that Andy Reid has a system in place that he wants to implement on a weekly basis. But you have these guys on this roster for a reason. I have to believe it's because you want to give this guy an opportunity to go out there and make plays. So, yeah, I want to see Jody Fortson utilized a lot more. I know Noah Gray's probably the more complete player, but Jody Fortson's got a frame, man, that you would envy. Anybody would envy, outside of maybe JD himself. But, yeah, it's very confusing to me that he has not been utilized. Yeah, 24-inch pythons over here.
What you going to do when JD runs wild on you?
Yeah. No, it is. It is frustrating, especially to see, like you said, 6'6", 250. Come on. I mean, that's what you want. That's the guy you're looking for, right? And so, like I said, man, it is frustrating not to see. And the thing is, hopefully he's not getting frustrated. I tell you what, man, I really hate when I see guys get frustrated and show frustration, kind of like they do. To me, I think it's just bad taste to kind of show that, because it's like it's getting to you, right? It's like, okay, you didn't showed your hand. If this is what's going to do, then as a defender, I'm like, oh, I got this guy. I'm staying frustrated. I'm being his ear the whole time. Look at you. What's wrong with you crying? What are you crying about? I just start messing with a guy. But I think, you have to definitely implement something with Jody Fortson, especially in the red zone. I don't care that you just have to do it. You had to make sure it's a point to get him in there. Well, another thing, I guess I was looking at some of the comments. They were just talking about some of the things that, had to worry about with the Bengals and the Bills, in the playoffs. If that's some of the things. I think we're putting the pieces together. And I kind of look at this game as like one of those things that it's like the game that you kind of like you're trying different things. You're trying everything. You're just trying to make sure everything you get in the tempo of doing things and moving around didn't quite work. So it's like, okay, well, all right, what we did in the second half was horrible. We need to do a much better job as far as protecting the football. That's first and foremost. That football, that's your livelihood right there. I mean, that's how everybody eats. You got to make sure you protect that thing at all costs. So first and foremost, that needs to be addressed immediately. And I think it's what Travis did, because they said he was doing drills, of like keeping it tight and stuff like that, like when he first ran. Yeah. And it's like you said, he said, even though I let it go, it's still in your head because you still got to think about it. Because, defenses see that they've done that. Well, shoot, next time somebody else is going to come in and try to rip the ball out. It's how it works. You've seen it on film. So you got to continue to do it. But I think the Chiefs are just, we know that this part of the season, you do have the Broncos, you do have the Texans, so you have somewhat of an easy schedule. You know it's going to be that, right? And so like we talk about pitch counts, all those things do come into play. You have to worry about that. So.
Yeah. And I think the lack of Jody, right, especially right now, when over the last 3 weeks, we've seen, kind of a red zone deficiency. We're not really, scoring touchdowns in the red zone. And it's a correlation. We're not using a guy who all throughout preseason, all throughout the first part of this season, we saw a guy who we come in literally just in the red zone. We throw it up to him. So it's interesting. We're having red zone problems right now. Let's go back to the bread and butter, a guy who we pretty much is only using the red zone. And regardless if we throw it to him or not, the defenses watch through the game tape. They know that guy's a red zone nightmare. So they'll focus on him, even if you don't even use him. So
come on, man. I got me a 6-foot corner, shoot 5'10". Come on. Hey, guess what? This week we're going to use. It's going to be back shoulder fade, go up there and go get it. High point the football. We got to give you that ball at least. We got to at least try it at least one time. So I just don't. It just makes sense. Just absolutely makes sense to me.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.